Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Madden and I am a traditional artist. Normally I paint on this channel, but today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I recently totally screwed up a painting, which doesn't happen often. I definitely make mistakes, but they're normally like fixable or so small that I am totally capable of moving on from them. But this painting just needs to start from scratch completely. So a little down in the dumps. So I figured I would switch things up for a little bit, do a little reset, and start a project that I've been wanting to start for quite a while, and that is my little miniature room. Now, obviously I can't make the entire thing in one video, especially since I've never made one before. I don't know how much this video is going to contain. I don't know when this video is going to go out. I don't know. But to start with, I'm going to walk you through what I know my first couple of steps are going to be and kind of my thought process for this first ever miniature room I'm going to build. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so this whole miniature idea started with finding this couch and this radio at a yard sale last summer. These are Renoir miniatures. They were made for about 10 years following the Second World War. They're pretty cool. They're, plastic, but they're fairly intricate. They've got a lot of details. You can see that this radio has like little knobs and a little, I don't know what that's called, whatever, and this texture here, and it's like a marbled brown plastic, so it looks a little like wood grain. And then this couch, again, plastic, although I do think that now that the plastic has aged so much, it does actually quite resemble like an old, dirty satin finish upholstery, maybe. It does look like it could be miniature fabric. And then much later, I was at my local antique mall, and apparently someone had put the rest of these for sale at the local antique mall because there was tons of them that I'd seen at that yard sale, and I'd been really wanting a side table, and I found one. So I found this little teeny tiny side table. The reason I wanted one was because this is a really unusual scale for miniatures. It's 1/16. It's not super popular these days. It's really annoying to convert because you aren't, cutting it in half or whatever. So it's not very common anymore. So I'm really glad I have these. And then the last piece that really cemented what I was going to do with these was this picture frame, which I had actually thrifted ages and ages ago. It is also cast plastic, so I think the textures go really well together, and it's the right color. It's got gold details. I think that it goes really, really well together. This was the starting point of this entire idea. And then a while ago, I actually cut out all of the pieces I would need to make the room box. I've never made a room box before or any kind of miniatures. I'm kind of winging it. I think what I'm going to do is mark where these walls go. I'll do the walls and the back wall, but I'll leave off the ceiling for now so that I can wallpaper it easily. So that boring stuff aside, I want to talk about a couple of fun details. So with a couch like this, you've got to admit that what it really, really needs, is a red Persian rug. And I might still buy one. I'm really stuck in my head about this, but I do want to try to make one, at least to start with. So my plan is to use this. I've got this scrap of vintage red velvet, which I do think goes nicely with the couch, and the whole room is going to be red. I'm calling it the red room in my head. I want to take this and cut it to size, and then using like a gold Sharpie and maybe some paint, put on a design. I might even try embroidering a little bit. That's what I'm thinking of trying. It doesn't need to be that big, so I think if I fail, but I still think there's potential, I could make a second rug. I do have enough to mess up. You can see that this would easily just carpet the room, but I do want a hardwood floor because I really like hardwood floors. So that's that plan. I haven't cut any windows or anything into this, or any doorways. I think I want to put a door in, but have it facing away from the person so I can have it cracked open if I really want to, but I don't need to worry about cutting a hole into this plywood so that, you know, it's an actual opening. And if I put a window in, because I want it to be a dark and moody scene, I'm just going to completely cover it in drapes. And then for the floorboards, I was initially thinking of using these, which are actual popsicle sticks that have actually been used and then washed with soap and water. So they're clean, they're not sticky or anything. But I don't have quite enough, so I'm going to save these. And then I was thinking of using these because I have 2 packs of these, and just one of these on its side covers up a good portion of the floor anyway. So I think I definitely have enough of these, even if I need to cut off the ends to make wooden floorboards. But I would need to glue them all down, and that risks buckling, and definitely an option. But what I'm thinking of doing is using this. This is veneer strip. So you put it on the edge of veneer furniture to hide the stripes of plywood and make it look like solid wood. So this is real wood. Let me see if I can spread that out down there. This is real wood. It's very, very thin. And then you iron it on, and you can stain it, and you can finish it and oil it just like wood, but it's iron-on adhesive. So this will not buckle no matter what, and it's super thin. And I like the grain on this better. It's much more textured, and for like a dusty, abandoned, run-down kind of miniature, I do think I like this more. So that's what I'm thinking of going with. I don't know how much of this ramble is going to go in here into the video, and then my general plan is to put the flooring in, put up the walls, and then wallpaper it, because I don't know what I want to do exactly until I see the couch in the room. Until I can play with the arrangement of this and the other furniture elements I know I want, I don't actually know what else I want. I know the textures, I know the colors, I know the like general time period vibe I'm going for. I know the mood, but I don't know if I want to add a window. I don't know if I feel like I have space to add a hearth. I don't know about all of those other details just yet. So I think I need to build the room box first in order to move forward at all. And then the other really nice thing about this veneer is that not only do I not need to cut these curved ends off, but it's so thin you can cut this with scissors, like, super easily. I actually really do think I'll go with this, and then I could even cut it into thinner strips to get a slightly more proportional floorboard, and I can vary up the wood grain a lot more and have it look a lot more natural. On these little guys, though, I don't want to alter them too much, because they are so, they're a little special, you know? But I do think I want to do some tiny, tiny touches that are hopefully removable. For this, I don't want to change almost anything, except there's this gap right here that you can see through. And that's really distracting. That really takes away from the illusion of it being an actual tiny couch. So what I want to do is take some twisted, like a string that's twisted to look like a 2-strand rope, make that match the color, and then glue that on around the edge just with hot glue, nothing too secure, to cover that gap and just make it look like an upholstery trimming. And then I'll probably do a little bit of aging just with like dry pastel or something to deepen the shadows, or a wash of black paint to sink into these cracks. I don't know, but it will be very light, pretty easy to remove from hard plastic. Even the hot glue should come off pretty easily should someone want to reuse this someday or restore it to its former glory. But it's not in perfect shape anyway. I think it was like warped with heat or something. It's got some bubbling, it's got scratches, so I also don't feel too bad about altering it slightly. For these two, I think I want to add some tiny, tiny gold details just to make the hardware stand out, because I think once it's in the room, I think these are going to be very towards the back of the room. It's going to be very hard to see these little details that are just cast into this very dark brown plastic. So I think I'm going to try and very, very delicately go over these handles with some gold. I looked at some reference images for these kinds of radios, and for the most part they were just wood toned, but they would often be like 2 tones of wood, and these panels were usually like a light brown fabric, it seems like. And this dial would have been paper, which would have been kind of a cream color originally, but they aged to be more yellow, and they might have had some gold-toned hardware or even black hardware. So I think I am going to emphasize these details, but it should all be pretty reversible. It's not too hard to take acrylic off of plastic, especially if you don't prime it first, which I don't plan to do. Alright, so it's the next day. I didn't end up getting the iron until it was way too dark to film anything, but I did spend last night, or a couple minutes last night, cutting all of my strips kind of down the middle so that they were a little more proportional. And now I have the iron. I've never used edge banding before, so I googled it. Apparently you would turn the iron on really, really hot, and then you hold it in place for like 20 seconds. You press it for 20 seconds, which is kind of a long time. Worked really well. Wow, that is so flat. So I've never seen anyone use this technique, using edge banding to make miniature flooring. I do know that a lot of miniature flooring techniques where they use real wood have trouble with bowing from moisture or whatever. And the only reason I thought to do this was because I already had it and I saw it while I was looking for the wood glue. But if you've ever seen anyone else do this, let me know. And then I'm not going to cut them into short and long beams to stagger them, because 1, I will have a rug on top of this, and 2, these are not like standard widths, so I would need to connect it to itself anyway, and I just don't want to do that. So I think after this, I'll go in with like a blade and cut in little fake board divisions or whatever, and just call that good enough. Let's see. I'm actually really excited to see how this turns out. I think I'm not going to put these down for the full 20 seconds because I'll be going over them again when I add the next one. I'm just going to tack them down enough for them to lay down without me needing to hold them. This is honestly awesome. I don't need to wait for glue to dry. I don't need to press it down with a book to make sure it actually like stays put. I can just keep going. I don't need to worry about a glue mess. I don't know how long this will last. Maybe there's a reason I've never seen anyone do it, but so far this seems like the best way to add strips of actual wood flooring. I don't know, maybe I'm a genius. Another cool thing is that you can get this edge banding. I think you can get this in like literally almost any kind of wood you want. I could be wrong, but I know you can get veneer in just about any kind of wood. And so you could do some really fancy wood floors if you wanted. Alright, there's really nothing interesting about ironing, so I'm going to pause and get back to you towards the end. Alright, last piece. And I trimmed this one down to fit a little better. It doesn't matter if there's a tiny gap between this and where it's supposed to be, because I do plan on adding molding around the room. So that'll get covered up, but I definitely need to leave space for the wall to be glued in. So it was more important to leave enough of a gap than it was to fill the gap. Now I'm going over it again, just to make sure everybody's really secure, being really firm, and especially in these corners, or edges. I want those to be attached really firmly. Let's see, I sat down 9:30, so 30 minutes, and I have well, you know, I measured and cut it the other day, so, you know, give or take 20-30 minutes, and I have a basically finished wooden dollhouse floor. Now, if I'd wanted it to fit together perfectly and not have any gaps, like for a very modern room, I would have maybe ordered some of this edge binding in the size I wanted already, so it would be perfectly straight on the edge. But since I cut these down to size and I wanted this to feel a little bit wonky, like a house that's aged and flexed and contracted and expanded over the years, this actually worked really perfect for me. Yeah, that turned out great, and I tried to mix them up so that we had mixtures of tones and stuff. I wish I'd had another piece of this one. This really dark one looks really nice. But I will be going over it with like some brown acrylic paint to age it and stuff like that. I'm gonna let this cool a little bit, and then I'm going to trim off these edges. I'm gonna try doing it with scissors, but I might need to go over it with like an X-Acto knife later. For now, I think that that'll be plenty. And you can see how easy it is to cut this. I'm literally using scissors. It's actually easier than cardboard. If you've ever tried to cut cardboard with scissors, which we all have, it's easier than that. Alright, so just trim from the bottom so that you can get right up to the edge, and that is like almost completely flush. I don't need to use an X-Acto knife, I just need to use a little bit of sandpaper. That looks great! Okay. Another thing I'm really happy about with this is that it's so thin. I can't lift that up to show you. This is so thin. You see how thick it is now? It's even thinner once you adhere it because this thick layer of adhesive melts into the fibers of the wood below it. So this stuff is just wafer thin. Okay, that's about as close as I can get it. But you really can barely see it. It's so thin. It's very smooth. It doesn't really need to be sanded. I might give it a very, very gentle pass just to make sure that the acrylic paint soaks in nicely. Alright, so I have done a first layer of paint on the floor, and I think it looks really, really, really good. But it's not done. I want to add some more layers of paint and cut in some little details to add breaks in the floorboards and little spots for where nails would go in and stuff like that. But I am going to take a break from this and work on the rug really quickly because I want to not need the iron anymore. So I'm gonna make a pattern for the rug with this scrap piece of paper, and I want it to fill up a good portion of the room, of the width of the room, so kind of like this, but I do need it to be slightly shorter than I actually want it to end up being, because I'm gonna add a fringe, and if I make it exactly as wide, if I make this pattern exactly as wide as I want the rug to be with the fringe, it will end up being way too big. So I want it to be like this big. So I'm gonna take off, still want, yeah, okay, that should be good. I just still want it to stick out on either side of the couch. For how big I want the rug to be, I just want it to be proportional, so. And then I'm gonna make a pattern for drawing on the details of the rug out of a note card. So I need it to be wide enough for that, so just a little bit wider. Should give me a good amount of room. There we go, I can center that now. Okay, so that will be the pattern. And I'm actually going to mark that with a Sharpie because we folded it so many times. Yeah, I think that looks about right. And then I'm going to make 2 rugs so that I can do all of the ironing now, and then if I mess up, I have a backup, but if it turns out good, I can just make a second one anyway, so that I have another rug to use in the future. This is fusible interfacing, so this combined with another piece of fabric or some tissue paper, whichever, will help make a rug that lays very flat and doesn't fray. That's the other important thing. So I need it to be that long. This is just an old pillowcase, so just reusing what I've already got. What am I doing? Nearly out of camera battery, so I'm just going to explain what I'm going to do. So I'm going to iron these down, and then I will cut them apart, peel off the paper backing, and then iron it down to the velvet fabric. But I don't think you need to watch me iron things. So we'll come back to this when I'm going to be doing some of the fun stuff. Alright, so we've got it all done. These 2 pieces, and they're pretty stiff. It looks like they're gonna lay very, very flat. And now all I need to do is cut it out. Oh, that comes off really easy. Okay. Awesome. I tried to cut this on the grain line, but it looks like I didn't do a perfect job. It's okay though. Alright, so that worked really, really well. Actually, it frayed so easily that I'm going to try and rub in very gently, very lightly, rub in some hot glue into the underside, and then also hopefully stabilize this, because that's fraying quite a bit. And this is so messy that I am just going to do this one today because it just got these red fuzzy bits absolutely everywhere. And then I really want to see, I really can't resist. Look at that. It looks so perfect. Oh my god. I wish I had a better camera setup for getting like angles and stuff because it's so cute. It's the perfect size too. Okay, very happy with that. Okay, so looking at some inspiration, they mostly seem to have pretty square designs around the edges, which is not initially what I was thinking, but that would be a lot easier. I think I'm just gonna do that one border line right now and see how well my potential technique works. Well, that's a lot darker than I was expecting. But it will work. I do think that this is, like, better than if I had used dark brown. Every time I touch it, it moves. Look, I've just been... Watch that. That's ridiculous. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Now that I've taken the paper off, that doesn't look too bad. It doesn't quite look centered. It looks less centered than it did before, but the color looks all right, and it's actually building up pretty nicely. What I want to do is build up a frame. So I've got this one, and then I might do another stripe around the edge as well. And then I want to do an oval in the middle. And then after I've done that using like a stencil, I'll freehand it. And then that's the center. I am very pleased with that as like the base for a design. That looks great. And then I'm going to use this, which is like an upholstery tack, and add some little nail holes. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. It's hard to tell on my end of the camera. Yeah. Look at that. Here's how it's going so far. I am so beyond pleased with this. I can show you them a little bit more up close. I love these little tiny nail holes. I saw this idea so long ago, and even before I've put on the wash of black paint. I think they look so realistic and amazing. I started out by just holding the pin between my fingers like this, and that was fine if you're doing one or two, but it was really uncomfortable, so eventually I switched to holding it like this, and then with this big piece of string so that I could like push with my hand instead of with my thumb, and that was a lot better. So highly recommend giant spool of string. I also enjoyed punching those little holes so much that I added some just random holes to the floor. Maybe they're nail holes, maybe they're knots, maybe they're little like insect holes from age, I don't know, but I'm really liking this so far. So I'm going to add a black wash. I really want to put together the walls, but I also really want to get the bulk of the floor finished, because adding big washes of black and brown paint have the potential to like seriously wreck the walls and any details I do. It might have been too much water. I don't know. I've never really done an acrylic black wash before. So I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope it works. I mean, that looks about right. For the most part, I think that looks really good, but there are some spots where we can see the glue, and that doesn't seem to like to stick to acrylic paint. So I'm gonna try and get some thicker stuff down there. No, that is really water resistant. Alright, so today is the day that I want to turn this bunch of rectangles into an actual box. The way I've seen people do this is to add wood glue, but then leave little gaps and put hot glue there so that the hot glue holds everything in place while the wood glue sets. One more thing I should get. I should get toothpicks. I should have toothpicks, because I know that Queen City Minis cleans up glue with toothpicks, and that seems like a very smart idea. So I just want to leave some gaps for the hot glue. I don't care if it squeezes out the outside, but I don't really want to get it on my floor, because I think I want to age that a little bit more. And I don't want it to be waterproof. Wow, that sounds gross. There we go. I feel like that maybe still needs a second to get hot. It's very cold in here. So while I give that a second, I guess, I've added another line to the rug. I'm gonna leave this for now. I don't think I'm gonna finish it this video, so that I can really think about how I want to expand this pattern, because I've looked at reference images, but they're so detailed that I'm gonna need to simplify it down if I'm gonna make it myself. Hopefully it looks okay. If it looks really terrible, I might just order a rug, but I do really hope it turns out good. Okay, here goes nothing. Well, that worked quite quickly. That's like standing up on its own already. That is a lot of glue seepage. I think I'm better off using a damp brush. Okay, that looks a little better. I definitely got wood glue on the floor, but that's okay. Hot glue, hot glue, hot glue. Go into your thing. Okay, we're redoing that. Alright, so that wasn't lined up right. Hot glue, hot glue, hot glue. It's square-ish. I think I'm gonna call that good. Alright, I'm gonna have to do this part off camera because it doesn't fit under the camera. So I will check in a moment. Alright, I know it's dark, but this wall is literally blocking all the light. Kind of see it like that. I'll get some footage of it with my phone. I did accidentally use the wrong side of the back wall and glued that down, so I'll need to get in there with some sandpaper to smooth out those little blobs of paint. There's a room. That actually looks kind of good. There's a room. You can see down it. So I'm going to set this up somewhere where I can see it, the couch in it, and try and think about what I want to do. Because, like, yeah, and honestly, I love how the rug has turned out. Will this stay put? Oh my god, it will. Brilliant. Just tilt it a little bit. So, I think the rug has a lot of promise, and I do like it, but I like the floor so much. I'm wondering whether or not I'll keep the rug. So I'll need to think about that, but I can still work on the rug and finish it and end up with something nice I can use in the future, hopefully. I have done some minor adjustments to the couch. I've very gently layered some brown paint onto the legs just because it was so pale and so gray and green toned that it just looked very odd next to the color of the floor. So I think I've done a good job of actually matching the original plastic color. If we look at it here, it's not really faded. But then if we look at it over here, I don't think it's too far off. I think this is all I'm gonna do for now. So it's kind of dark right now, and I'm a little bit of a mess. And I've been working on this for 3 days, maybe, as a little mini vacation from working on art. What I've gotten done so far, my goal was to get the room box done, and I needed to get the floor done in order to get the room box done. So I have met my goal for this portion of the project. And here it is, and it's so cute. since I think I am going to end the video here, next time I'll probably be doing wallpaper, which will be very fun, and maybe by then I'll have picked out and bought a light fixture because I have something very specific in mind, so I might need to buy something. For now, I can show you what I have for the wallpaper. Yeah, I love this pattern. It's very... I want this room to be kind of halfway 1920s, halfway Victorian, so I think this will work really well. It is kind of in the middle there. And aside from that, I think I'm done. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, like, subscribe, saucy comment in the comment section below, and I hope we'll see you next time. Bye!